Although sometimes your spouse is also right about things. That happens a lot too. My wife, for example, is the one who bought the fish cam fish. My wife actually bought this for me, not even as like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. She just came in the room with it and said, do you like the fish? Do I like it? It's the most beautiful work of art I've ever seen. What do you mean, do I like it? I mean, you know the answer to that question. Finally, here's something I wouldn't normally talk about on the show, but Travis Kelce on his podcast gave some insight into his relationship with Taylor Swift. According to the headline from People magazine, he claimed that he has never once had an argument with Taylor Swift, through 2.5 years. And he made this claim while interviewing George Clooney, who, I don't know, has a movie coming out or something, I'm not sure. But he said that George Clooney, has not had an argument with his wife for, 10 years, or however long they've been married. And I do want to say one thing about this, because periodically you read these kinds of headlines from such and such famous person who claims to have never argued with his wife, or a woman claims to never argue with her husband. And although it's almost always men saying this, and that's an important detail. If there's someone who's claiming, I never argue, it's almost always the man saying this. And now I know that Kelce and Swift are not married yet, but so for the sake of discussion, we'll just talk about marriages. You read these stories, and sometimes you hear people in your life who make this claim. I've never been in an argument with my spouse. And then other people who do argue with their spouses, they feel bad. And they ask, well, is there something wrong with my marriage that I do have arguments with my spouse? Is it okay that we have arguments? Is that healthy? Why can't we be perfect like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? So let me say this. Is it okay to argue with your spouse? Is it okay to argue in a marriage? Absolutely. In fact, you should. In fact, you should have arguments. Not all the time. I'm not saying you should be arguing every single second of the day, obviously, but you should have arguments. You should not. It's unhealthy to not. If that was true, someone saying, when I never argue in my marriage, well, that tells me there's something wrong with your marriage. Something like seriously wrong with it. Now, you should not, on the other hand, have fights. That you should not do. And that's the distinction. It's an important distinction. I think it's one that maybe escapes a lot of people. So a fight, what is a fight? Well, a fight is when you're trying to hurt the other person. That's what a fight is. The whole point of a fight is to try to hurt somebody. Now, hopefully, we're talking about in a relationship, not physically, but in a fight, you're trying to cause pain. And usually, in a marriage, if there's a fight, you're trying to cause emotional pain. You're trying to make the other person, make your spouse feel bad, feel guilty, feel embarrassed, feel defeated, feel whatever. The objective of a fight, what makes it a fight, is to hurt. That's what you do in a fight. And so you should not do that in a marriage. Now, it may happen because you're both weak and ridiculous people, as all people are. We're all weak and ridiculous in our own ways. So it may happen, but it should be very rare. And it is possible, actually, to have a marriage where you just never fight at all. And there are people that do a lot of coping the other way, where they actually get in fights all the time in their marriage, and they say, well, this is just part of being married. It shouldn't be. It might be part of your marriage, but it should not be. It's possible to never have a fight. It is actually possible. And if it is going to happen, it should be, I don't know, once or twice a year at maximum. But it is possible to go like a decade and never fight. If you're fighting weekly or daily in your marriage, then your marriage is in dire shape. Your marriage is in really bad shape. And it's like, it is, I'm not going to say it's terminal, but it's very sick. It's on the hospital bed. It's critical. Okay. It's in the ICU. And if you have kids, you're creating a miserable home life for them, and you're just setting a god-awful example. So just like knock it off. Now, an argument, on the other hand, is a discussion where you're both trying to assert your point of view. That's what an argument is. That's all an argument is. You have a point of view. The other person has a point of view. Your point of views are not exactly the same. And so you are trying to persuade them of your point of view. That's an argument. You're not trying to hurt them, right? Because if you're doing that, it's a fight. You're just trying to sway them in your direction. You're trying to get your point across. They don't get your point. They don't see your point. And so you're trying to get them to see your point. And it doesn't have to involve yelling, and it shouldn't. It doesn't have to be angry, and it shouldn't be, although sometimes it might get a little heated, but it's better if it isn't. And again, you're not trying to hurt the other person. The moment you do that, your argument has devolved into a fight. And now there's nothing productive that could possibly come out of it. Once it gets to a fight stage, the best thing you do is just end it. You can't win. There's no winning on either side. There's nothing productive that can come out of it. And the best thing you could possibly do is just stop. Just stop and go to bed. Go to bed angry, if that's what it takes. Just shut up now because you're at your fight stage. The best thing you do is just stop. And there's the moment that every married person has those things that they know they could say that will hit their spouse in a sensitive spot emotionally, right? Make them upset, make them feel bad, make them defensive. Very often, these are the things that you say that start with a phrase like, you never, or you always, right? And that's like childish. That's in a discussion with your spouse in your argument. You should, if you're making any statement that begins with you never or you always, you're being immature and you should just shut up because it's almost never true. Like, I just said it myself, but it's almost never the case that someone always or never does something. So whatever, you're saying that thing. And that's when the argument starts, or that's when the fight starts. But an argument is just asserting your point of view, right? You're making your point, and that's it. And you should do that. So when someone in a marriage claims that they never have an argument, what that tells me, if it's true, either they're lying or it tells me that one of the members of the marriage, usually the man, simply never asserts his point of view and just allows himself to get trampled. A marriage without argument is not healthy. A marriage without argument is a marriage where there's indifference, there's apathy, fear of conflict, and all that sort of thing. And that's usually what it means. Usually, if it's a marriage without argument, if that's actually true, it's because the man just doesn't think it's worth it to even defend his point of view or even articulate it. He doesn't even want to say what his point of view is because he doesn't want to get nagged to death by his wife. And so he just allows himself to he just kind of lays prostrate and submits. And that's what happens. And this interpretation, by the way, is borne out in the clip of this exchange. Watch it here.
You claim that you and your wife haven't gotten in a fight in 10 years.
That's right.
Are you lying?
No, I'm not lying. Travis, shall we ask you the same questions?
Well, it's only been 2.5 years, and you're right. I haven't gotten in an argument in 2.5.
Yeah. All right.
Never once.
Honestly, neither of us are going to win the argument, so why get in it?
There we go.
There you go.
That's a smart man right there.
Yeah, no.
What's the secret? Just staying out of the argument altogether?
Dude, I'm 64 years old, and what am I going to argue about at this point? I'm like,
yeah.
I've met this incredible woman that, she's beautiful and smart, and she stands for all the most important things that I believe in the world. And I can't believe how lucky I am. So what am I going to fight about?
So he says that neither of them, meaning neither he nor Travis, neither of the men is what he's saying, will win the argument. So there's no point. So that's exactly what I said. This is like a henpecked submissive attitude that you might as well never assert your point of view because you're too pathetically weak to actually persuade anyone of it, and you're too afraid of making your wife upset, and so you're just not going to do it. And that is, that is not healthy, and it's certainly not anything to brag about. And it's this kind of a sitcom dad trope that still endures. You can never win an argument with your wife. I hear guys say that. I'm like, why? Really? Why not? Why can't you win an argument? I mean, it's not really about winning, but it's about persuading. It's about getting the other person to see your point of view. Really? You can't ever do that? I've had plenty of arguments with my wife where in the end she saw what I was saying. It's like, okay, I see what you're saying. But then it's gone the other way where I say, okay, I see what you're saying. It happens. Like, really? You've never had that happen? You can't, you've never had like a conflicting point of view from your wife about anything and been able to just like get her to see that point of view? Really? Never? And Clooney says, well, his wife's beautiful and smart. Okay, well, my wife is beautiful and smart also, but even smart, beautiful people can be wrong about something. I mean, and so you should tell them, not by screaming or making wild accusations, but by saying, hey, I think you're wrong about this. Here's why. And unless they immediately just agree with you, which they're not going to do, because that's not human nature. I mean, if they're wrong, it's like they think they're right. So you got to, you're not just saying you're wrong is not going to be enough. You're going to have to kind of have a discussion. But you should be able to do that in a marriage. I want to tell you about a really solid deal from our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. It's their buy one, gift two special Christmas. Here's how it works. All month long, when you buy a 4-week emergency food kit, they'll throw in 2 1-week food kits absolutely free that you can then give as gifts. Now, I know emergency food might not sound like your typical stocking stuffer, but think about it. If you've got friends or family who are into camping, preparedness, or just being ready for whatever comes your way, these actually make really thoughtful gifts. And for those who haven't thought much about emergency prep, this might be exactly the nudge they need. Look, with everything we've seen the past few years, weather getting more unpredictable, supply chain issues, it just makes sense to have some food put away. My wife and I feel a lot better knowing we've got our bases covered for the kids. So with this deal, you're taking care of your own family, which is most important, while getting meaningful Christmas gifts that actually matter. And those 2 gift kits, completely free. So head over to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh and grab yours today. This offer is only around for the holiday season. So go to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh right now. That's mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh. Although sometimes your spouse is also right about things. That happens a lot too. My wife, for example, is the one who bought the fish cam fish. So that's part of the lore of the fish cam. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but let's go to the fish cam again. My wife actually bought this for me, not even as like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. She just came home one day. This is true. She just came home one day with this giant wooden fish. She just came in the room with it and said, do you like the fish? And I said, do I like it? Do I like it? It's the most beautiful work of art I've ever seen. What do you mean, do I like it? I mean, you know the answer to that question. I don't know how I've lived this long without it. That's how I'm feeling. Do I like it? I feel like my life up to this point has been empty because I didn't have the fish in it. That's how I feel about it. And this is what keeps marriages going, I think. This is what keeps it strong, is having discussions, communication, and also having a wife who periodically buys giant wood carvings of aquatic animals. That's our secret, I think. And there it is. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.